1970 Chevelle, we have the patches made for the side markers. And what we're going to do, we're going to tack them in where it's flush, and then if it's not exactly right, we're going to take our hammer and dolly. I got a shrinking hammer here, and we'll hammer and dolly it to get more of the shape. See how this is up a little bit? So we'll tack this, and then we'll hammer and dolly it in, tack that, and move our way up. So we'll show you what we're talking about in a minute. We actually cut that panel off there, and there's part of it. Definitely needed it. There's the new one. So we're pretty much ready for that. We're actually going to drill it in here and weld it from the inside, as opposed to poking more holes in it, because I already have holes here. So I'll just drill those and then come in here and weld it this way, which is why I have the car and the rotisserie completely sideways, to make it easier for welding. Stay tuned. Okay, here's the next step to putting in these wheel tubs from ABC Performance. They give you this measuring device. You measure up a ½ inch from here to here, scribe that line, and then you measure 1.5 inches from there to there and scribe that line. You'll cut this piece off first, because that's the piece you're going to reuse, and then you'll cut this piece out and discard that like we did on the other side, and then you're going to have to fill in something here like we did on the other side. Luckily for this one, we have a new piece of floor, so we're just going to cut that piece out and stitch in the new piece of floor. So stay tuned. Putting mini tubs in it. Now what you had to do is at this lip, which you see here, you had to cut a ½ inch off, cut that out, which is this first line right here, and then you had to cut 1.5 inches off from the inside. You actually had to drill that out. That's going to stay there. We're going to have to do some trimming on that pretty soon. You also had to drill this piece out here and trim this piece. That'll still go on, but you just got to fill those spot welds in. Move that out of the way. You had to drill the wheel tub piece out here to move that. And there's the new piece right there. We punched some holes in it so we can spot weld it in. And then this piece here will actually get spot welded back on and then tack welded in, or butt welded solid. Okay, we got the new wheel tub all welded in. We got the brace welded in. That's ready to go. Now we just got to patch this floor that had the rod in it, and we'll get to that tomorrow. Stay tuned. Okay, so we got that welded in. There's the patch that we had to cut and then weld that in. We'll do some grinding there in a minute. Spot welded that in. We also had to cut this piece off completely to move it over, so we'll be welding that in next. We'll stitch weld it here, spot weld it there, spot weld it there, and that spot will be all set. We're putting the roof on it. We got it cut off. The only issue is right here, so we're going to cut this in here and that in there, and narrow that a little bit and move that piece down because it's a little too high. But the rest of it is fitting really good. Fits perfectly there. Same thing on the other side. Took our measurements from where we needed, from here all the way to here. Took our measurements, so that's correct. And we're gonna have to do the same thing on this side. So we're gonna cut this lip here, cut the lip on the inside, and take some of this out and weld it up. And then we'll end up sandblasting that and welding a piece, a solid metal piece into there. We have the front welded on. We have this side cut and started to weld it on, and the back is welded on. And then we have to go to the other side, cut this strip rail off here, and what we do is we cut it off at this line, grind it up in, and then weld it up solid all the way down. We did the tunnel, made a brace for it on the other side because we had to cut that floor brace out for clearance for the drive shaft. We got it all seam sealed. We have the plugs all in. We made a patch for that in there where the fuel pump, where the fuel lines usually go. We got rid of those. Got a plug in there, plug in there. Also had to weld up a couple holes in here. We had to cut out the bulkhead because we put a smooth firewall on it. So stay tuned for more. Okay, so here's the underside of the tunnel that we had to put in for the 70 Chevelle. As you can see, the plugs are on. Got to sand that down with some 120 so we can get the Raptor undercoating in there, and we're actually going to tint this one Fathom blue. And the next step, what we got going on is we have to weld these onto the new inner wheel tubs. So we're going to cut these tabs off, move them around so we can fit it in there and get that straight, and we're going to weld those on. So that's next on the list. Stay tuned. Today we are going to Raptor line the underneath of the car with some tintable Raptor. It's going Fathom blue, so stay tuned. Kevin here from Harrington Classic Car Restorations in Asheboro, North Carolina. Here is the finished product with the tintable Raptor liner on the 70 Chevelle. Actually looks pretty good. You can't really tell the color because of the lighting, but that's Fathom blue. Looks pretty good.